Welcome back to Reddit Echoes, the place where justice isn't just served. It's flambéed, garnished, and served with a side of petty satisfaction. In today's episode, we've got 4 stories, 4 absolute masterpieces where revenge isn't just cold. It's calculated, it's delicious, and honestly, it makes you wonder why karma even bothers showing up when people can do this instead. We've got everything. A corporate backstab that ends in millions lost. A coming-out story that nukes a mayoral career. A creepy boyfriend who learns what it's like to be completely alone in Europe. And one chaotic babysitting night that Red Bull will never recover from. So buckle up, grab a drink, and let's dive into some pro-revenge you'll want to take notes on. Just in case. Story 1. I cost the company millions and I walked away. Smiling, I left college with a business degree and a brutal slap of reality. No job, no interview calls. And all those promises about alumni lifting the next generation evaporated like steam. Those people were busy playing golf and forgetting they were once broke too. Eventually, I landed a job in the operations department of a mid-sized tech company. Not too big, not too small, but I was incredibly lucky. In one thing, I had a boss who was a real mentor. He didn't just teach me how to do the job, he taught me how to survive in the corporate jungle. Thanks to him, I climbed the ladder quickly and became the head of order processing in just a few years. The company had one massive client that made up nearly 90% of our revenue. I'm not exaggerating. If we lost them, we'd lose the company. And it was because of this client that everything started to fall apart, or more accurately, I made it fall apart. But in the most justified way possible. One day, my boss, a man who rarely ever looked rattled, asked me to lunch. He looked off, like he'd just found a body hidden in a filing cabinet. I asked him straight up, something wrong. He sighed and said, I think something's not right with the financials of our biggest client. He didn't go into detail. Just said he was still checking things before reporting to upper management. But then exactly a week later, he was fired. No warning, no investigation, just one email and his key card deactivated. Everyone was shocked. He was well liked by both the company and the client. But I knew something dirty was going on. And I was right. When I logged into my computer, I noticed he had left me admin access to all the files. I don't know if he did that with anyone else, but he knew me well enough to trust me. I started digging through the files and my heart started pounding like I was in a sprint. The company was embezzling money from the client. Millions of dollars. Organized. Systematic. And I, freshly promoted to compliance officer, was now holding all the evidence. I'm not a saint. But I'm not the kind of person who can just look the other way, especially when the man who taught me everything was fired for daring to question the system. So I made a plan. Step 1. Call up a few former managers and find a new job. Wasn't hard, my old boss had great connections, and I had real skills. Got an offer in a week. Step 2. I asked the entire ops team to come in on Saturday with the promise of double pay plus bonuses. Naturally, they were hesitant, but I told them, if we pull this off, you won't just get paid, you'll be heroes. They were curious. So I laid it out. We were going to return every single dollar the company had stolen. We worked non-stop all day, transferring each amount, by the book. No one noticed because it was all under the access of a recently fired employee. Monday morning, the sales team showed up. They opened their laptops, saw the numbers, and thought the software was bugged. Before they could even call the client, the monthly and quarterly revenue targets had already been met, in one day. They celebrated, cheered, danced, like they'd hit the jackpot. Management, on the other hand, went from happy, confused, suspicious, full-blown panic. As for me, I had nothing left to do except wait until the end of the day to walk out. As I stood there holding a box of my things, waiting for the elevator, a man stood next to me, dressed casually, polite. He looked at me and smiled. Got fired, I smiled back. No, just leaving before this place burns to the ground. We laughed, chatted for a bit. Then he asked, "What department are you in?" I replied, "Operations." He paused for a moment, then said, "I'm the CEO of your company's biggest client." I froze. He walked straight into the office, and just minutes later, a celebration began. The client had arrived to congratulate the team on their stellar revenue performance. Management lied and said, "Due to confidentiality, we can't reveal where the extra revenue came from." I left. 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was the CEO. He asked, "Why did you quit?" I simply said, "Check the accounts receivable section." That's all. 2 days later, the contract was terminated. The company threatened to sue. The CEO just shrugged. "Go ahead. I've got proof of fraud. See you in court." The entire executive board was fired within 24 hours. As for me, I flew to Vegas with my old boss, all expenses paid by that very same client. I didn't just get revenge for my mentor, I brought down a rotten system from the inside. And I have zero regrets, not even a little. Story 2. My dad was the mayor, and I made sure the whole town knew his son was gay. I was born into a family where the word traditional wasn't just a value. It was a non-negotiable identity. Church every Sunday morning, prayers before even eating pizza, and God was always the answer. Even when I asked Mom, the outlet is sparking, what do I do? By their standards, I was a disaster. I didn't believe in God, didn't believe in some old man with a beard sitting on a cloud judging people, and most of all, I was gay. And as you can imagine, that didn't go down like winning a scholarship. I was stupid enough to think I should be honest. And then, my mom cried like she just saw the wrong ending of Titanic get spoiled. And my dad, well, he was the mayor. And in his mind, having a son who liked other men meant his entire political career had just been buried. I thought it would end with tears and some dramatic preaching. But nope. My mom organized an intervention. Yep, you heard that right. I came home from school and found the living room packed with family, from my overly judgmental aunt to the uncle who always fell asleep during dinner. All of them stared at me like I was a little demon girl who had just twirled out of The Exorcist wearing a miniskirt. My mom kicked things off like a daytime TV host. "Honey, I know you're confused, but everyone here loves you. And they're here to help you find the light of God again." What followed was a whirlwind of Bible verses, prayers, tears, and dramatic warnings like, "You will burn in hellfire if you don't change." And the saddest part, many of them were my close friends. People who used to say, "I'll support you no matter what." Apparently that didn't apply when my mom was in the room. That night I went to my room, shut the door, and didn't cry. I made a plan. I had already been accepted into a college not far from home. Unlike my backward little town, this campus didn't live in the 1950s. There, I joined the LGBTQ+ club, marched in pride walks, and for the first time, I felt normal. Then opportunity knocked. A student group decided to organize the town's very first pride parade. And I thought, oh, my moment of glory has arrived. I didn't just participate, I organized. I rallied friends, got permits, and even invited local news outlets. And on the day of the event, I showed up wearing the brightest outfit imaginable, a rainbow crop top, neon shorts, an LGBTQ+ flag necklace, and light-up roller skates. I was a rolling beacon of love and defiance, cruising down Main Street right past City Hall. Guess who works there? Yup, my dad. I remember that moment like it was shot in slow motion. I was skating by when I saw him behind a window holding his coffee, eyes wide, mouth open. He nearly dropped the cup. Cameras kept rolling, townspeople kept watching, and me, I waved my flag and smiled like I was filming a toothpaste commercial. When they interviewed me, I said something simple: I'm gay. And today I walk through these streets to say, I don't need anyone's forgiveness. That night I went back to campus in peace. My dad, oh, he didn't get re-elected, not because I'm gay, but because the town had grown tired of hypocrites preaching values at church while being ashamed of their own children. After the election, my dad gave a statement to the local paper. I apologize if my son's actions made anyone uncomfortable. Yeah, a classic non-apology. But I didn't need an apology. I wanted him to look me in the eye and say, "You're okay just the way you are." But he didn't. And maybe he never will. But that's okay. Because I'm real. I'm proud. And I taught the whole town that shame doesn't come from being who you are. It comes from forcing others to live a lie just so you can feel more comfortable. Story 3. He tried to assault me on a train, so I left him stranded in Europe with no money, no gear, and no hope. Back then, I was in my early 20s, freshly unemployed, and decided to take a trip across Europe to find myself. Along for the ride was my boyfriend, or at least I thought he was my boyfriend. We'd been dating for about 6 months. He seemed gentle, smart, and, well, the kind of good-looking that leans a little arrogant. I should have known from the start, hot guys without kindness are just well-packaged garbage. Everything went smoothly at first. We went through Amsterdam, Brussels, and were on our way to Munich. One night on an overnight train, I found out who he really was in the worst way imaginable. We were in a cabin with 2 other passengers, but they'd gone to the dining car. I thought we'd have a romantic moment. But no. He locked the door, smiled the kind of smile that chills your spine, and started touching me without asking. I thought he was joking. I gave an awkward laugh and pushed his hand away. But he didn't stop. I told him to stop. He said, "Come on. You know you want it." I fought. I yelled. I punched him. He didn't stop. Not until the other passengers came back and the door opened. No one realized what happened. He let go of me, straightened his shirt, and sat down like nothing happened. Me, I was frozen. That night I didn't sleep. I stared out the window asking myself, was I overreacting? He's my boyfriend. Did I say no clearly enough? The next morning, he acted like it was nothing. I asked him directly, "You know what you did last night was wrong, right?" He looked at me and smirked. "Wrong? Are you kidding? You've thrown yourself at me how many times before I wanted to vomit?" And then he gaslit me so hard I actually started to wonder if maybe I had imagined it. We got to a hostel in Vienna and stored our bags in a shared locker. He asked me to go for a walk. I agreed, but when we reached the main square, I said I need to use the restroom. I walked into a cafe and never came back. I hailed a taxi straight back to the hostel, checked out, and demanded a full refund, including his share. Then I went straight to the lockers, took all of my stuff and everything we had shared. Snacks, maps, guidebooks, the Thomas Cook rail schedule, that thing was gold before smartphones. I left his backpack behind, wide open and completely empty. But I didn't stop there. I found a payphone. Yes, they still existed, dropped in a few coins, and made an international call to his house. His mom picked up. A textbook, "My son is perfect" type, with a voice like honey laced with cyanide. I said with no hesitation, "Your son assaulted me. He is not the person you think he is." Then I hung up. Worth every damn coin. I caught the next train out of Vienna, heading west, carrying everything he needed to survive: food, cash, information. I didn't take his passport. The hostel offered it to me when I checked out, but I said no. That doesn't belong to me. I'm not like him. I didn't need to do anything illegal. I just let him deal with the consequences. I don't know what he felt when he walked out of that cafe and realized I was gone. No money, no stuff, no plan, no idea what just happened. I don't know what his face looked like when he called his mom and got chewed out. But I love imagining it. I kept going on the trip alone. A few days later, I emailed a friend and told them everything, and I ended the message with, "If he learned anything from this, let it be this. Don't think you can hurt people and walk away like nothing happened, especially when the person you hurt is smarter than you gave them credit for." And I believe even if I never see him again, that leaving him alone, helpless and clueless in a strange city, was how I took back my voice, my dignity, and my justice. Story 4. They didn't want to pay me for babysitting. Good luck with 2 Red Bull-powered kids at midnight. I used to be one of those agreeable teenagers, and no, not in that way. More like if you offered pizza, I'd say yes to just about anything. And if you've ever been a teen barely surviving exams and hormones, you'll get it, pizza can straight up buy your soul. So when my aunt, a single mom at the time, asked me to babysit her 2 kids, I agreed immediately. The only condition, real pizza, not the frozen kind. Something that actually touched an oven. To be fair, the kids were sweet. No screaming, no fighting, and they stayed quiet while I watched movies. A mutually beneficial agreement. Things only went downhill after my aunt got remarried. Her new husband had 2 kids of his own, and suddenly I became the unpaid full-time babysitter / on-call chauffeur. First time after the wedding, they called, "Can you watch the kids tonight? We're going out for dinner, should be back by 10. Of course I said yes. I trusted them, and I thought, there's definitely going to be pizza. Ha, mistake number 1. I got to the house, no pizza, no food. Just some cold leftovers for the kids. They left without even a thank you. 10 p.m. passed, no one. 11 p.m., still nothing. 12 a.m. I started wondering if they'd been kidnapped. 1 a.m. They finally walked in completely hammered, giggling like idiots. I sat there stone-faced, having just realized I'd been used. No apology, no thank you, no freaking pizza. I thought, okay, maybe it's a one-time thing. Round 2, same deal. Round 3. Oh, you're always free, right? When I finally said no, they didn't call me anymore. They called my mom. And when my mom refused to help, they yelled at her until she cried. I was 16, tall, stubborn, and I couldn't stand watching my mom be humiliated because I wouldn't babysit for free. So next time they called, I said yes immediately. Of course, I'm totally free. They were thrilled. Me, I started planning. That night, I showed up right on time. Still no pizza. Of course. The kids ate dinner, went upstairs ready to sleep by 9 p.m. But I quietly walked in, tapped them on the shoulder, and said, "Get up. The party's just starting." They blinked at me, confused. But it's bedtime, I smiled like the Joker about to set Gotham on fire. Not tonight. I brought them downstairs, turned on the TV, bright loud cartoons, closed the curtains, turned on some blinking fairy lights, then pulled out 2 cans of Red Bull and a pack of Skittles saved specifically for this moment. They asked, "What's Red Bull?" I said, "Magic juice. Drink this and you can run through walls." They believed me, gulped it down. 20 minutes later, I wasn't in a house anymore. I was in a war zone. They were screaming, bouncing, throwing pillows, punching each other, racing around the table like it was the Grand Prix. One blasted K-pop at full volume. The other lay on the floor screaming about seeing rainbow colors in their eyes. 1 a.m. The door opened. The couple walked in all smiles. Until they saw the living room. The kids were still bouncing. One was hanging upside down on the sofa. A lamp lay dead on the floor. The air smelled like Red Bull and sweaty chaos. They turned to me. "What the hell happened?" I shrugged. "Oh, the kids couldn't sleep, so I played with them. Oh, and I found some drinks and candy in the kitchen. They were furious. Called my mom the next morning yelling like thunder. But you know the best part, my dad overheard the whole thing. He walked over, patted my shoulder, and said, 'You were wrong. But I can't stop laughing. Just don't do it again, unless you film it next time.' From that day on, they never asked me to babysit again. And I didn't need pizza anymore. Because I got revenge, and it was sweeter than pepperoni. And that's it for today's episode of rSlash. If you're feeling just the slightest bit tempted to spike your enemy's life with chaos and poetic justice, don't do it. Just subscribe. I post stories like these all the time, and your daily dose of drama is just 1 click away. Also, let me know in the comments which revenge was most satisfying. The office collapse, the Pride Parade takedown, the lonely tourist trap, or the Red Bull Revenge Riot. I'll be down there reading and laughing with you. Until next time, don't mess with smart people, and definitely don't underpay them.